Hi, welcome back to the channel. Well, we're going to customize today one of the cars from the new DLC, the Paragon S, of course, or the Bentley Batur by Mulliner. This is the one I really wanted to get my hands on since I saw this article here on the Top Gear website, which I've flipped through, but not for very long because you want to read it properly, and it's linked down below. And this sort of pinky purple car, I just thought we've got to build that specific car. I can't wait to get this done, so let's get on with it. So the car here is fully stock as I bought it, apart from the number plate or license plate where I've used B22TUR as per the article, and I put that on first. So starting at the top, I always go full armour on the car. I'll leave the brakes and stuff till I know if I like the car, but I do always go full on the engine. With the exhaust, there's a bit of weirdness going on with the right-hand exhaust on some of them. The squared exhaust is probably the closest to stock, but there is nothing in the right for squared exhaust, and there's a few others like that. So the next nearest and closest is simply the stock exhaust, so I would just stay stock on that one. Now the stock grille is very Bentley, but it's very much not this car. If you go through them all, you start to see these really bold grille meshes like the real car has, and I think the tight wire mesh is the closest. Now I do want a sort of lightish grey colour on it. I know there's some purple details from some angle on some photos, but in general from distance you can't see it as far as I can see. So I'm going secondary tight wire mesh, and we must pick a suitable secondary colour when we get there. Stock hood looks really good. There's all sorts of other weird and wonderful options, but stock is bang on. And as far as the headlights go, I'm just going to stay with stock because xenons are quite blue, and bluey headlights, they're so last decade, darling, you know, we don't tend to use them anymore. Certainly we won't have a livery, but let's just flick very, very quickly through them. And moving swiftly on to the mirrors, where stock mirrors are all we require, the top half coloured, bottom half black. The plate I talked about, I think want to get the nearest to a British style plate. It's the wrong colour, of course, because we have yellow on the back, white on the front, but let's not worry about that. So I think the blue on white 3 is going to be the closest here. Onto the rear diffuser. Slight disappointment here on the car, but at least you park them backwards in on your garage. That bit should be painted primary, and then black lower down. You can't get it. All that you get is some strange sort of GTA type diffusers. The stock diffuser is actually the right shape. It's just two piece diffuser there, so it's the correct one, and we're just going to have to accept the black rear panel. So there we are, that's all stock. Now onto the respray. The primary colour, there's not quite a purple in the game that I thought was suitable. Other crew purples I've used weren't suitable, so I scanned my own colour in because I wanted that unique purple that we've got. And this crew colour here, which I'll put on the screen or down below, I think that looks really good. Very pleased in fact with that crew colour. I do note this is the moment in the edit that I forgot to put the pearlescent on, so we're going to go back and do that at the end. Now you may be wondering, what can you do if you don't do crew colours? Well, as you start to look through the purples, a lot of them are obviously some way off, but when you go to bright purple, that's not far off. So I'd say go bright purple if you can't do the crew colour. You're not going to be overly disappointed, it's not too far off. Or of course pick another colour. The car was available in all sorts of colours that are very easy to do, like there's a white one for example. There's only 18, so there's not a huge variety, but if you hit Google you'll be fine. The secondary colour does the stitching and the grille, as you can see. So I'm going to go with something like a matte light grey. The reason being that looks like roughly the colour of the grille as seen at least from a distance on the photographs, and it's fine for the stitching as well. For the trim, there are purple bits here and there where I'm waving the mouse on the real car, but of course if I get purple those bits stay black and the whole thing goes purple, which is no good unfortunately. So I'd rather leave it a sort of off grey colour. There's a lot of the sort of anthracite colours in the car, so I'll select black steel there and just forget about the purple bits on the inside. For the skirts it's a bit hard to see, but if I select the secondary inset skirt so you can see the colour, that sort of ridgy bit on the inside It's close at least to the ones on the real car. I want them in black. I don't think I particularly would be having them in carbon on the Bentley, so I'm just going with standard inset skirts on that one. And splitters, there's some nice and some nasty on here, and some very strange, but in fact stock is very, very close. I mean, the whole car is very, very close. It's another push against copyright infringement, I think, as Harm None would say. I'm amazed they do get away with it. Spoiler, well, the car has an active spoiler, so we're just going to leave it. No spoiler. Certainly we're not using a sun strip. Now the suspension competition looks really good, and if you leave it there, I'm not going to blame you. I do think sport though is closer to the actual height of the Batur, so I'm going in the end with a sport suspension. Transmission and turbo I'm going to leave alone till I find if I like the car. The wheels here, they are so close to the real wheel. We're not even going to look at any other wheel available in the game. Now I'd like to be able to paint them, and this morning when I couldn't get near my computer, I watched Digital Car Addict's customization of this car so I could see what you could do to it. And in there he mentions a trick that a friend of his gave him. It's a trick that's unique to this car, but it seems to work on PC and on console to paint at least a good chunk of the standard wheel. So the first thing you do is you put on another wheel, and the cheapest is Classic 5 from the muscle class. Then you paint it the colour you want, and I want a bit darker than the alloy on here. I want a sort of anthracite type colour, and for me stone silver on here is about the colour I want that wheel. So you paint the wheel, and now here's the strange bit, and I don't know how people discover this sort of thing, I really don't, but back out to spoilers and choose an option, obviously the cheapest option. Go back to wheels now, select your stock rims, and to your surprise and pleasure a great chunk of them will be painted, in this case this darker colour. Now the tips that are left behind, there's a bit more alloy on here. On some of the Baturs those are painted in body colour, but I'm not sure that I can see a way of doing that on here. So with that done, you need to get down of course and put your bulletproof tyres on the car. I never miss those out of any car, to be honest. Then go and get rid of your spoiler because we no longer require that. Onto the windows, I think a light smoke will work. And it does appear I forgot to hit the button on the wheels to actually select those dot wheels to stay on, so I'll just actually hit the button now. That's a bit better. That completes the build of our car, so we should take it out into the sunshine and have a look. For me this is instant love, but as I drive away I realise I forgot the pearlescent, so I'm going to nip back and just talk pearlescence on the car. Okay, sorry this is slightly out of order. Anyway, my first thought, and perhaps yours as well, was why not fist to pink like some of the other purple cars I've done in the past, and that looks utterly stunning and I absolutely love it. But I don't think it's really what we've got on the Top Gear car, so I think we need something a lot more subtle. I thought rolled steel, but it looks a bit too gleamy, if you like. It adds too much of a sheen to the car. So going for dark steel, which is quite subtle, and you might say in fact you hardly notice it outside, but it's just to give it those slightly deeper reflections that we do have on the Top Gear car. I think this looks absolutely stunning. I mean, it's $2 million and it's more when you do this. You can of course do a Marnie Tech on the car if you don't spend your whole time in invite only lobbies playing this as a car game like I do. Then you might be very interested in the Marnie Tech, so that's certainly worth mentioning. Oh, I love that spoiler. Look at this, it's got the active spoiler but with the air brake. Okay, really pleased with that. So let's just have a little bit more of a look at the car and see what we think. Well, I think this deserves pride of place in the garage, to be honest. Well, whilst this is not a review of the car, I think it would be remiss of me, don't you think, just to take it for a little drive, see what we think before we finish the video? And I'll be honest, for the car collector it was pretty much a buy anyway, but let's go. Well, the acceleration is good, and the brakes are really good as well, so that is a great start. Yeah, picks up speed very, very easily. I'm assuming this is four-wheel drive. I mean, and the way it goes around the corners there, it's very neutral. Yeah, even pushed quite a long way, although you can sense that it's a heavy car, of course. It is really gripping very, very well indeed. And if you throw it around here, hardly anything, maybe a tiny bit of oversteer, flinging in again a bit, but that's a very unsympathetic throw into the corner. And it's a sort of four-wheel drift, back out a little bit. Very, very impressive. I imagine the real car would be something quite similar to this in the way that it handles. We'll really just chuck it hard around the next corner and see what happens. Well, okay, apart from the Jeep we hit, yeah, that is a tremendous amount of grip. So now we scratched it, let's check it against a tree. Yeah, that's a 50-50 four-wheel drive by the look of it, all the wheels spinning about the same sort of speed. So this is a fast car. I'm not going to say it's the most fun because there's not an awful lot of sliding, but it's dealing with the bumps okay, it's driving well. I like this car, so if you got the money for the only one I bought so far from the DLC, I highly recommend it. If you enjoyed this, please like it. If you only liked it a bit, please like it anyway. I'd love a comment down below on A, whether you're going to build this, but B, what cars are you most excited about on the DLC that you think I should be buying and doing a build on as soon as I can. I'd love to know what you think. Sub if you like real cars in GTA, and thank you so much for watching.